What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Let's Selectors. We've got more championship score predictions. We're now predicting week 28 within the championship. As always guys, if you want to get involved in the Let's Selectors Football Prediction League, the best way to do it is to comment your championship predictions in the comments down below. On the left hand side of the screen you will see my Premier League predictions for the second half of that same week that we had from last week. We've got a 2-week long week really in a way, with some clubs having a much needed break. So within the championship we will start predicting it very soon, but before, if you can do that, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel when you do that. So if you have gone on to enjoy, please do that. Please do hit the subscribe button too. It really does help the growth of this channel. And please also share the channel too. All three of these things are free to do, and they both really help the growth of this channel. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these weekend's games for the championship. So let's start off with Sunderland versus Hull City. So I remember the reverse fixture. This was when Michael Beale picked up his first win as Sunderland boss. But unfortunately, since then, he hasn't really kicked on and definitely is below the standards that what Sunderland really wanted. And they were a little bit put off with him, within the first appointment of Mike Beale. And he would have needed to hit the ground running to win them back. And I've got to say, with their form, they've not really done that. They've only won one other game since getting that win against Hull all the way back in December. Hull themselves are struggling with form actually. 4 defeats in their last 5 games. Their only win they picked up recently is against struggling Blackburn Rovers. And quite honestly, I think what has been an issue for Hull is that they've been in a lot of close games, but they have just been on the wrong end of them. And it definitely could go their way into this game, but I do think Sunderland can hold their own. I do think they actually looked a little bit of a threat against Ipswich. I think they looked a real threat on the break, especially their transitional play I thought was okay. I thought it was a little bit of an even game between them and Ipswich there. And I think if they can carry that going to Hull, I think it will be a close game. As a prediction, I can't back either one of these sides. Maybe Sunderland will be the slight favourites based on the form, but I'm going to go for an entertaining 2-2 draw actually. For some strange reason, my gut is telling me that I think we'll get a high scoring draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let's get into it. Is Swansea versus Southampton. Can Southampton make it 20 games unbeaten? That is the $1 million question, and what a moment for Russell Martin to do so as well, because this is a reunion against his former club. He's already played against his former club already, or managed against his former club, I should correct myself, and Southampton walloped Swansea last time, beating them by 5-0. But Swansea have shown improvements quite recently. Luke Williams has had his first league game as a manager for Swansea, and it was a good result for him as well. And I do feel with Swansea that they are improving in certain areas. I mean, they'll probably feel a little bit disappointed, Swansea, that they didn't pick up all 3 points in the end against Birmingham in their last game. But I do see some real positives considering where Swansea were a couple of weeks back. Their form has been a little bit up and down. Southampton, I think, will be an really big challenge. They're proving to be the informed team in the championship, so it's going to be very difficult for any side to get a result. I know Southampton away from home, I wouldn't say have been as convincing at home. Their games have been a little bit more tighter. So I do think as a prediction it's going to be a close game, but I cannot back anything else but a Southampton win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to the Saints. I think they will just edge out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Blackburn versus Huddersfield Town. Both of these teams really need 3 points. So Huddersfield at this moment of time, they're only 4 points clear of Sheffield Wednesday. They had managed to increase that gap from Sheffield Wednesday by 1 point, as they managed to pick up a draw against Plymouth in their last game. And Sheffield Wednesday, of course, they got absolutely smashed by Southampton, who we just talked about, by 4-0. So Huddersfield will feel a bit content. They got a 1 point gap extended from that last game week, but honestly, it could all flip on its head if they lose and Sheffield Wednesday win. So right now, they need all the points that they can get. Blackburn, they themselves just need points for pride at this moment in time. It's 4 defeats in 5. They've got the worst defence in the league. They've conceded even more than 24th place Rotherham. So defence has been a huge issue for Blackburn this season. And because of this, they are really picking up some really bad results quite recently. And also going into this game, I wouldn't actually be surprised if Huddersfield can pick up something here. I do think There are some good passages of play with Huddersfield, but it's just not consistent enough, which is why we've not seen Huddersfield propel up the league as much as they probably deserve within their performances. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a high-scoring game, and I don't know. I've got a gut feeling that Blackburn might actually get a response here, but I think it's going to be really close. I'm going to go for a 3-2 victory to Blackburn, with them being at home with, in my opinion, better attacking players. I think Blackburn will pull through and get something here, but honestly, I think Huddersfield are going to make it really difficult because Blackburn can't defend to save their lives at the moment. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game today is Bristol City versus Watford. This is going to be interesting with Bristol City. So last weekend they did lose to Preston, I believe, and it was a performance that was a little bit puzzling. They were okay first half, second half they did not respond well at all, and the game ultimately just was out of their reach by the second half. Watford going into this weekend, you know, they actually are now starting to pick up their form quite a fair bit. A relatively comfortable win in the end against QPR. I mean, like probably in the final 10 minutes was a bit nervy than it needed to be, but for the majority of that game, Watford were very, very comfortable, managing to shoot from distance and managing to get goals, you know, from real moments of quality. And I do think they will be more hyped up for this because Bristol City, I do think, will be a bit more fatigued. I do believe, actually, with Bristol City, that they had a pretty strong team against West Ham, and they did get a good result in the end, meaning that they do go into the fourth round of the FA Cup, which is a brilliant story for them to knock out a Premier League club. But the consequences could be quite severe. However, as a prediction, I do think Bristol City at home have been alright. I think they've been really, really good. Watford away from home have been a bit inconsistent, a bit touch and go, but Watford are now starting to pick up a bit more consistency and positive results. And I could see a 1-1 draw emerging, I think. I think both these sides will score a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Middlesbrough versus Rotherham. Middlesbrough going into this game are bang slap in the middle at 10th place in the table, and it's been a consistency of win, loss, win, loss, win. So if the pattern continues, because they won their last game, and a really good win actually against Millwall, given the circumstances of their squad, they did really, really well. But if consistency continues as it is, they'll be expecting to lose. But this is a Rotherham side who've only picked up 3 points in their 11 away games all season. 3 points out of 33, so that is 1 in 11 chance. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible, and I'm sorry to say, but it really, really is. And that form is really going to cost them, and they're currently 8 points of safety. I don't really see Rotherham finding the momentum that can take them out of there. When they did get an unbeaten run for quite a fair bit, they looked really lethargic in their last game against Stoke, and had they picked up a win in that game, which I believe they did would have been capable of, because they actually had decent form going into that game, they really, really looked lethargic, and that was the most disappointing part for me. As a prediction, I think despite the injury concerns, I think we are going to start seeing some players go back to Middlesbrough very soon. I think they still have enough players to take the game away from Rotherham. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Middlesbrough. I think they'll do just about enough. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Norwich versus West Brom. This was an intriguing game last time around. West Brom picked up a narrow 1-0 win. Norwich did have their threats, but ultimately it was just one moment of quality from West Brom, and they managed the game sensationally well. Both sides will be relatively, I would guess, happy-ish with their form. I mean, West Brom more so. And if West Brom need to solidify their place within the top 6, they need to improve their away form, because right now they've only scored 1 away goal in their last 4 away games, I believe. If we're going to discount their 2 goals they scored against Rotherham, bottom of the league, they've really struggled to pick up points on the road, West Brom, and they really need to improve that. Norwich will be doing better at home. They have now started to pick up a bit more consistency. They're now scoring a little bit more freely. There are some links going into Jonathan Rowe, because he has had an unbelievable season for this Norwich side. You know, I saw it from game week 1 for how impressive he was. He was going to be a sensational player, and my goodness me, has he not disappointed a lot of us this season. he really could be involved in this game. I mean, I don't know what his headspace would be based on the fact that he's got some really heavy interest in some Premier League clubs as well. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a draw, actually, based on where the squads are at the moment. West Brom being quite weak on the road, Norwich improving. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, actually. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Plymouth versus Cardiff. So, Plymouth-Cardiff played against each other recently in December. I mean, all of these games happened quite recently, but this was an entertaining 2-2 draw last time around, and Plymouth did bring some fight into that game, but they did throw a lead away. And they will be determined not to do so again within this game. However, Cardiff have picked up a couple of really decent away wins as of late. Plymouth are still winless since Schumacher left. I thought Ian Foster's first game, or league game I should say, more specifically against Huddersfield, I thought he did quite well within the first half. I thought they looked pretty good, Plymouth, within the opening part of the game. But I think for the majority of it, I do think they were in the back foot. And I think especially at home park, where their form has been so strong at home, Ian Foster is really going to make sure that Plymouth still maintain that confidence at home, that they could be free scoring and maybe not necessarily the best defence, but constantly entertained within their home games. But as a prediction, I have a very sneaky feeling that Cardiff could sneak something here. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Cardiff. I think, again, Plymouth's squad is going to be a little bit unbalanced, or imbalanced is the correct word, based on the amount of outgoings that they've been getting. I know they're getting some ingoings in, but naturally that's going to take a little bit of time for the squad to gel, and I do think Plymouth will have some issues with that. But I do think eventually Plymouth will kick on, but I just do think these next couple of games are just going to make it a little bit difficult. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments down below. Next game to predict is QPR versus Millwall. This was an interesting game last time around, and it was actually Millwall that picked up the result in this game, and it was a very crucial win for Millwall as well, because this was around their time where they were really tipping down the table, and Joe Ed was already forming some question marks. But since then, his form has dramatically improved. Now, it was a bit disappointing in the way that they lost against Middlesbrough, given the circumstances. But I do still think there are some positives in this Joe Edwards side, and I just think it needed time. And honestly, I do think Millwall are now looking a little bit more competitive. But what I hope is that they don't become too complacent and they lose that consistency that they brought up. QPR, on the other hand, I'm a little bit worried with their form at this moment. They've got a 5-point gap from safety. They've not won in quite a while now, with 4 defeats in their last 5. Another defeat here could really make things difficult. And honestly, as a prediction, I don't see many goals. I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory to Millwall. I see them sneaking a win here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sheffield Wednesday versus Coventry. Obviously, these sides played against each other quite recently. They are playing against each other this weekend, but they've actually got to play against each other in the FA Cup, actually. So, quite interesting that they're playing close early to each other, actually. So, Sheffield Wednesday, as I mentioned, got absolutely walloped by Southampton, losing to them by 4-0. They'll be wanting to get a good response in this game. Coventry, are up there for Middlesbrough for being the informed team in the Championship. I believe Leeds, Southampton, they picked up the most points since November. Coventry would be 3rd place in the form table, and I think they picked up the 3rd most points since then as well. Coventry are definitely starting to build up some consistency now. 4 wins in 5, and they really are now starting to look ever so competitive. What they need to do is that I think they need to carry on this form for a good 5 or so more games, and I generally think they can start breaching a gap, because the gap between them and West Brom is 5 points, which is actually quite significant, but they are only in the top 6 on goal difference. So Coventry now need to solidify their place, which means right now, these next couple of games is crunch time for them. They really need to make these opportunities count. And honestly, as a prediction, I think based on the way that they're playing at this moment, I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to make it tricky. Coventry managed to win by 2-0 last time, a bit comfortable. I don't think it'll be as comfortable this time around. It'll be trickier for them. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Coventry. I can see them sneaking an away win still based on their form. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Stoke versus Birmingham. So 2 sides again with new managers quite recently. I think Schumacher's definitely bringing a good impression of his management for Stoke, because they're still unbeaten since he took over them. Quite a few draws in their games, I would say 3 draws in 5, but they are remaining unbeaten, and it means that they've got a good amount of breathing space within the relegation picture. It doesn't look like to me that they could get to the top 6. They're 8 points off the top 6, so I do think they need to start turning these draws into wins if Stoke need to have any chance. It's not impossible for them, but I think it's going to be quite unlikely, unfortunately, for them. Birmingham, they can't afford to slow down. If they do drop a couple of bad results, they could find themselves fighting again for survival, but for what I saw with Tony Mowbray, I'm already quite excited with the amount of chances they were able to create. You know, I think the thing is with Wayne Rooney, whilst his style of football is quite brave in the way that they do it, I think there was an issue that they were just creating too many opportunities for the opposition to attack. And as a result of this, it meant that Birmingham weren't actually able to be as creative as they could be. They managed to get a last-minute draw against Swansea. It was quite a dramatic game, actually, and I really hope that we get something quite similar here. But honestly, as a prediction, this is quite tough, actually. I was thinking I was going to back Stoke, but I'm now not so sure. They picked up a 1-0 away win against Rotherham, of course, with a Lewis Baker free kick. I think, again, not many goals in this game. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I was thinking 0-0, actually, but I don't want to see a 0-0, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw within this game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Leeds versus Preston. So Leeds will be definitely wanting revenge on Preston with the way that Preston managed to beat them last time around. And obviously, it was quite controversial in the circumstances of getting Medvedev sent off as well in that game. Preston, you know, that was a good result for them, but they really did not kick on. Since then, they had back-to-back defeats. They managed to win their next home game against Bristol City. So, Preston doing all right at home, but away from home, yeah, not picking up points. And I think Leeds at this moment, I think at home especially, unless things go a little bit wrong for them, I do think they will feel quite comfortable here. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-0 away victory to Leeds. I think they'll really go for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The final game to predict, guys, is Leicester versus Ipswich. So, it ended as a 1-1 draw last time. A last-minute equaliser from Ipswich Town with Sam Morsey getting the only goal in that game for Ipswich, at least. It was very tightly contested, and it was quite fierce and quite controversial in its ways. You know, you would have argued Leicester probably deserved a penalty, arguably, as well. I think with this game, I mean, this is a good opportunity for Ipswich, because if they do win this game, they close the gap on Leicester to 4 points. And when you think of a 4-point gap, that is quite catchable. But Ipswich could really lose ground on Leicester if Leicester pick up a win, because then the gap will be back to 10 points, and then it'll be almost back to square one. And considering Southampton have got an early game, I think if they do overtake Ipswich, if they do beat Swansea because they've got a superior goal difference, the pressure will be back on Ipswich to get a result against top of the league. And honestly, right now, they're still breaking all the records. A bit of a setback for them to lose in the way they did against Coventry. Brilliant home performance by Coventry, but I do think that red card decision, as controversial as it was, definitely decided the factor of this game, or at least really made it difficult for Leicester. Honestly here, I think both teams have got players missing, so it's going to be interesting to see what squads each side faces. I could honestly see a really cagey first half, and then second half, I think we're going to see the depth and the quality of Leicester City shine through. That's why I'm not backing Ipswich. I don't think a draw could happen, but for me personally, I sense a gut feeling that this will end 2-0 to Leicester. I think it's going to be a bit of a similar affair to when Ipswich played against West Brom. I just think the quality that they're going to show in some passages of play is just going to blow them away. And I do think Ipswich are just going to have an off day. So I'm going to go 2-0 Leicester. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So guys, these are my predictions for the Championship now concluded. As always guys, you can always predict the Championship in the comments down below to enter into the Leicester Football Prediction League, which I will at some point give you an update. I do warn you now guys, I have now entered a really busy period of studying now. So whether I'm going to be active on getting the Prediction League updated is hard to say, but I will try and drag on this content as much as I can, but it's no guarantees because this is a really crucial part of my year now. So just a little bit of insight of what's going on, but at the same time, when I can shut off from the intensity and can sit back and relax, the Championship is my go-to place to feel happiness. So I'm glad again to still be producing content from this type of channel. So that will be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please smash the like button. It really does help. Please hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. It really does help the growth of this channel. And please share the channel too. All three of these things really do help the growth of this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw me in this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.